Hook set! Hook set!
So our goal this year is to really now test what we've learned in years past. On this episode of Next Level Fishing TV, we cruise up and down the Laguna Madre and search for a gator trout. Today you'll be able to watch as the gator trout transitions between winter and the spring when they come out of their winter snaps and they're feeding very aggressively. So sit back, relax. Next Level Fishing TV starts now. It's a very different species. It hunts very differently than a lot of species that we have in the saltwater. But once you begin to understand how a speckled trout survives, it's amazing to see it all sort of come together, you know, because you can go from, well, we're just on speckled trout, but I don't know why, but we're on them, to this is what we need to do this time of year. This is the kind of structure they like to hang around, and this is why. As a kayak angler, you know, we really do begin to shine in the winter. To be able to fish, use our stealth, our ability to just almost be right on top of fish with very little disturbance. Now, with all that being said, you know, there are ways to approach fish. So there's always a bit of research that goes into trout fishing based off of where you're at. And so, you know, that's sort of the difference between knowing where to catch trout and knowing how to catch trout.
And it's just a strange early winter for Texas. So, yeah. I'm gonna whip around real quick. You know, it doesn't look like there's anything here, dude, and that's sort of the weird thing about winter fishing is, you know, if you can find the fish and you can find them concentrated, it can be really, really good, but of course, it's a matter of doing that, so, you know, what I'm going to do, though, is, you know, I don't want to just ride over them and spook them out, so I'm going to sort of line up a drift here, and I want to just kind of cruise over these spot of mine. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we are on a kayak. Stealth and mobility.
There are people around the world that are just incredible anglers that specifically target trout. But why? You know, why? What is it? What is it that makes the trout down here so special? We understand, we know there's big trout down here. This is the place to come down to get your 30+ inch gator trout. And so one of the big answers to this riddle is that trout will actually absorb nutrients from the water. And one of the things that we find in hypersaline lagoons is an abundance of nutrients. And so within those nutrients that a speckled trout can actually absorb in and can actually help it increase its growth over a period of time. So that being said, your quality of speckled trout is just out the roof, you know. I mean, you go to Louisiana and a 24-inch speckled trout is like, but out here, it's actually pretty average. So let's talk about what works in the winter. And so this becomes a big question to a lot of anglers. How to present your baits and what you're looking for. How are you putting yourself in position to succeed in the winter? And so with the help of fish finders, what we've been able to stumble upon are rocks. Now these rocks are buried, they are marking fish, but it's a little bit more than just that. One of the things that we've noticed around this series of rocks that we're at is there's actually some really good current. And so in order for a trout to actually survive winter, you know, yes, his metabolism is going to go down, his movements, he's not going to feed as much, but he still has to eat. Trout are very much ambush predators. They're very remarkable species, and they will use that structure to ambush whatever bait is going down in those high current situations. I've caught trout in thick, ugly mud where the visibility is just, you can't even see this close in front of you. And then I've caught them in rocks. I've caught them in muddy shell and sandy shell. You know, it just depends on the territory. But the one thing that really doesn't change in winter that I think we can all agree on is really the speed of retrieval. You know, you really want to slow things down during the winter, and that's the hardest thing for anglers to do. You know, at times I still struggle with it. I have to tell myself, all right, let's slow this down. Let's see if we can get better results. Mimic to the best of your ability what the fish is actually going for. Those Paul Brown broken backs, you know, those are very good. I don't personally use them, but I know that they work because people have a lot of really good results. Also jerk baits, you know, you can still do very well with soft plastics, but you just got to go with zero weight and find a plastic that's buoyant, like trout support. You know, that's just a perfect example right there. If you put in a weedless setup with no sinker whatsoever, a lure like this will sit there and float, and it will slowly descend, which gives you plenty of time to sort of mimic that lethargic presentation that we're all looking for, in hopes that a trout actually takes notice and says, you know what, I'm going to take advantage.
Ah, dude. That's a big trout, dude. That's a pretty one. Shield 28.
One story that sort of sticks out on me, and I can't remember this individual's name, but he's after a world record speckled trout, and he has 2 locations to go. One of them is in Florida, but the story that strikes him, a possible world record, was actually found dead on a hard freeze. And so rumor has it that this trout was about 43 inches. I just want you to think about that for a second. You know, I mean, we're out here making a big fuss about 30-inch trout, but there are bigger ones there to be caught. And the only way to really catch these trout is to really understand who they are as a species. And so our goal this year is to really now test what we've learned in years past. Can we catch a trout in the winter? And can we do it again in the spring when they come out of their winter snaps and they're feeding very aggressively?
Yeah. Oh no, we're definitely gonna have to get dirty. Yo, I got a big stud trout here.